Before we begin, I would like to sincerely thank the 4 West Bay North candidates, Mr. Ralston Anglin, Ms. Shakina Bush, Mr. Jermaine Ebanks Hurlston, and Mr. Jordan Rivers, for accepting our invitation to participate in tonight's forum. By appearing together on this platform, you demonstrate a shared commitment to the democratic process and the people of West Bay North. Your presence signals your readiness to address the pressing issues raised by the community through a recent chamber survey, which has helped shape the questions that we'll be asking tonight. While time won't allow us to cover every question submitted, we will do our best to focus on the topics identified as most important to the voters in the Cayman Islands as well as West Bay North. When the Chamber was founded in 1965, it was built on the principles of supporting, promoting, and protecting the interests of our members and the wider community. Remaining strictly nonpartisan, we have proudly hosted these candidate forums every election year since 1988. We provided a neutral platform for 9 elections, allowing voters to hear directly from those seeking public office and helping our community make informed decisions on election day. The questions for tonight's forum have been carefully developed based on the past and current chamber surveys, our 3-year advocacy agenda, and submissions from the public in various constituencies. No candidate has received these questions in advance, ensuring a fair and open discussion. As an organization committed to supporting a strong and sustainable Cayman, the Chamber's advocacy efforts focus on 3 key pillars: building a future-ready workforce, sustaining economic success, and advancing quality of life. The newly elected Chamber Council believes that these pillars are fundamental to the continued growth and prosperity of our islands. Looking ahead, the Chamber intends to collaborate with the incoming government to develop a government accountability scorecard, ensuring accountability and transparency. Additionally, we will seek representation on key government boards and authorities, as we believe our members bring valuable expertise that can help shape effective policies and initiatives. These forums require months of coordination, and I'd like to acknowledge the tremendous efforts of Will and our chamber staff who have worked diligently behind the scenes. I'd also like to express our gratitude to Ashley Furniture and Home Store, CUC, Foster's, and Logic, which has made these forums possible. Additionally, we appreciate our media partners, Cayman Mall Road, Cayman Live TV, and ICCI-FM for broadcasting tonight's event. We are live streaming the forums, making it easier than ever for voters to tune in from the comfort of their homes. We hope this added accessibility encourages even greater participation in the democratic process. And now, it's time to begin. I'll turn the proceedings over to Will Panu, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, who will serve as tonight's moderator. Will outline the forum's rules and introduce our candidates from West Bay North.
Good evening, candidates. Tonight's forum is designed to give each candidate a fair opportunity to present their positions on key issues. The rules for tonight's forums are: each candidate will be asked a series of questions. You'll have up to 2 minutes to respond to each question. A bell will sound when your time is up. Please conclude your remarks promptly. Candidates will speak without interruption. You may disagree with another candidate's views during your response time. However, all comments must be made respectfully and within your allotted time. At the end of the forum, each candidate will have 2.5 minutes to deliver a closing statement. I'd like to begin by introducing our candidates this evening. We're going to begin with Mr. Jordan Rivers, is running as the Cayman Islands National Party candidate for West Bay North. He's an 8th-generation Caymanian with a vision rooted in sustainability, opportunity, and community. A lifelong advocate for responsible tourism, environmental protection, and social equity, Mr. Rivers brings both grassroots experience and a forward-thinking approach to public service. He began his career as a tour guide with his family's business, Spirit of the West, where he developed a deep respect for Cayman's natural environment. His commitment to conservation was further shaped by his work along Barker's Beach and his time serving as the Cayman Islands National Trust Council from 2023 to 2024, where he helped promote policies that balanced economic development with environmental responsibility. Mr. Rivers also has a strong background in civic engagement. Raised in a politically active family, he's worked on local campaigns, contributed to policy discussions, and built strong connections across generations of Caymanians. A former Cadet Corps corporal, he brings discipline, leadership, and a sense of duty to everything he does. Now he's stepping forward to lead. Mr. Rivers is focused on key issues affecting Caymanians today, protecting our environment, lowering the cost of living, and creating more opportunities for local families and small businesses. He believes sustainable progress must include everyone, young and old, business and community alike. Mr. Rivers is ready to serve West Bay North with honesty, energy, and a deep love for his country, ensuring the next generation inherits a Cayman they believe in. Welcome, Mr. Rivers. Next, we have Mr. Rolston Anglin is running as an independent candidate for West Bay North. He's a former legislator and Minister of Education with a strong track record in public service and professional achievement. A graduate of Sir John A. Cumber Primary and the Cayman Islands High School, he earned an academic scholarship from Price Waterhouse. He went on to graduate with honors from Ohio State University. While at university, he was a member of both the Phi Kappa Phi and Golden Key Honor Societies. He became a certified public accountant in 1996, passing the exam on his first attempt, and gained international experience working in New York City. In 2000, he left a successful career in finance to enter public service and was elected to the Legislative Assembly, where he served 3 terms from 2000 to 2013. From 2009 to 2013, he served as Minister of Education. As minister, he led a series of key reforms, including the reintroduction of reception, the expansion of primary schools, the launch of SciFec, the introduction of dual entry program at UCCI, the creation of Principal Consultative Council, and the establishment of Passport to Success program and national professional standards for teachers. He also launched the Bachelor of Science degree in nursing program at UCCI and revised the graduation criteria in government high schools. Today, Mr. Anglin is the owner and lead consultant at Pointer Consulting Limited, specializing in financial and regulatory advisory services. He is running to bring experience, innovative, and accountable leadership back to West Bay North and to deliver real solutions where they are the most needed. Welcome, Mr. Anglin.
Thank you very much, Will.
Mr. Jermaine Ebanks Hurlston is running as an independent for West Bay North. He brings 17 years of experience across the legal, financial, and industrial sectors. Currently serving as a business control analyst and compliance officer at a trust company, he focuses on regulatory integrity and financial transparency to help protect Cayman's global reputation. A proud Bosuan Bay native, Mr. Ebanks Hurlston began his career as the youngest engineer plant operator at Cayman Water, earning his DSALCO certification. He went on to serve as the plant operator at CUC and OSHA certified crew chief at Rubis Aviation. He later earned a Cisco networking and maintenance certification from UWI and co-founded one of Cayman's largest tour operations, helping lead its expansion. For the past 5 years, he has owned and operated a waste oil logistics company promoting sustainability and environmental responsibility. Mr. Ebanks Hurlston is an outspoken community advocate. He led the 2025 protests to protect Barker's National Park and was a key figure in the 2021 post-election protest against government corruption. His activism reflects a commitment to accountability, transparency, and public service. A devoted father of 4, Mr. Ebanks Hurlston's deep roots in West Bay North drive his passion for change. He is running in the 2025 election to restore public trust and deliver practical solutions. His priorities include revitalizing job opportunities, lowering the cost of living, and ensuring a government that puts Caymanians first. Mr. Ebanks Hurlston stands for leadership built on honesty, integrity, and action, ready to serve West Bay North with commitment it deserves. Welcome.
Thank you, Will.
Ms. Shakina Bush is running as an independent candidate for West Bay North. A lifelong resident of West Bay, she has dedicated over 20 years to public service through education, youth development, and community leadership. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Education from Florida International University. She is currently completing a Master's in Sports Organizational Management from the University of Ottawa and the International Olympic Committee Academy. Ms. Bush taught in the government education system for 8 years, earning the 2018 Golden Apple Award for Excellence in Teaching. Her innovative methods in math and science instruction earned national recognition. After transitioning from the classroom, she developed an academic and sports-based programs for children while working with the Cayman Islands Olympic Committee. Her leadership in regional and international sports earned her the role of head of the Cayman Islands delegation for 4 regional games and the 2024 Olympic Games. Beyond education and sports, Ms. Bush has served on the Central Planning Authority and the Cayman Islands National Sports Commission. She has worked with various nonprofit organizations, always with a focus on youth and community development. Her campaign focuses on immigration reform, education, and addressing the cost of living. Ms. Bush believes in transparent leadership and ensuring that every Caymanian voice is heard and respected. Welcome, candidates. At this time, we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we return, the questioning for West Bay North candidates will begin. Please stay tuned.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Why is my bill higher? These days, it might seem like the cost of everything is going up here in Cayman. When it comes to your energy bill, this may be no exception. You may be wondering why your bill is higher when you haven't done anything different in your home. Here are some common factors that will increase your energy usage. As temperatures outside increase, your air conditioning unit has to run longer to keep your house cool, even if you haven't adjusted the thermostat. During the summer months, cooling your home can make up more than half of your energy bill. It's important to maintain your AC so that it can function as efficiently as possible. Changing your AC filters can also help with ensuring units are functioning properly. Remember, for every degree you turn up your thermostat, you can save on your monthly energy cost. Turn off your AC when no one is home. Thermostat should not be set any lower than 78 degrees. Also consider closing blinds and drapes on the sunny side of your home. This will help reduce the temperature inside your home. Remember to consider energy waste. Think about the items in your home that are using energy, like gaming computers and ceiling fans. Always unplug and turn these items off when they are not in use or needed. This will help you conserve. Now that you have some energy saving tips, you can track your consumption daily on MyCUC. Learn more at www.cuc-cayman.com.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for West Bay North. We've gone through the introductions. Now we're going to go through the first round of 4 questions. And to the panel for this evening will be Chamber President Omari Corbin and past President Shamari Scott. Omari?
Thanks, Will. Mr. Rivers, we'll start with you for question number 1. Why are you running in this election, and what plans do you have to represent the people of West Bay North if elected?
Thank you for the question. I'm running in this election because from a very young age, I have been very politically inclined and I've paid attention to the economic and political background of our country. And what I have seen is Over the past 25 years at minimum, we have had successive governments that have failed this country, to the point of we have ended up in the situations that we now see today, where the cost of living is extremely high, jobs are slim, opportunities are near non-existent. And because of that, I've also noticed that inside of Parliament, I have yet to see a single individual that has made a genuine effort to understand what the next generation is looking for, how to service them, and how to give them the opportunity in their own country to succeed, which is what has brought me to where we are now here today, where I've put myself forward to represent not only this country, but also be as an individual that represents the next generation, because as I see it, that I would like to be the representation that I think is sorely lacking inside this country. The individual that I'm trying to be, if elected, would be someone that is fair, honest, and has a lot of integrity, that is transparent and accountable, because we have lacked a lot of those key elements and traits and character traits in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Mr. Anglin?
Thank you very much for the question, and I want to thank the Chamber and all of my fellow candidates for appearing on this forum tonight. My reason for running is very, very simple. Cayman isn't just at a crossroads. Cayman is well through the intersection. We have crises all over the place. We have a crisis in immigration. We have a crisis in public education. We have a housing crisis. We have a cost of living crisis. Quite frankly, Caymanians and Caymanian families are in crisis. And so my motivation for running is to bring my experience to the table to ensure that we have a stable government that is policy driven, to ensure that we don't just play lip service to the issues, but we actually take action on important topics like immigration, education, and housing. As it relates to the people of West Bay North and how to represent them, they have been underserved for way too long. And my first action will be to ensure that I establish the West Bay District Council. We have to have participation by the people of this country. And one of the key ways is to ensure that advisory district councils are brought to the fore and ensure that we have local participation in the actual governance of West Bay North. Anyone that has read my manifesto will see that I'm proposing a council that is driven by issues. We're going to have subcommittees to deal with things like labor, employment, conservation, the development within the district, to ensure that whoever is the MP, and when elected on April 30th, you have people who are actually working on the ground that you can work with to ensure you're delivering true representation, effective representation to the people of West Bay North. This has been truly lacking and non-existent. And quite frankly, the people of West Bay North are frustrated and tired of it.
Mr. Anglin? Mr. Ebanks-Hurlston?
Thank you, Mark, for the question. And again, thank you for everyone in the audience, as well as the panel here today. The reason why I stepped forward to represent West Bay North and everyone in Cayman, just to be quite clear, is because I see that there's a huge lack of resources for our youth. There's a lack of representation. And we also have to work to rebuild the trust between those in the community and Parliament. For many years, we've employed lip service representatives, people who have given us false hope, those who pretend to want to bring about solutions, but seem to be lopsided in their decision making. We need to have a transparent and accountable government, and that's why I'm putting myself forward for this election. Most importantly, we have an obligation to each and every one in Cayman to ensure that we have their best interests at heart. And we have not seen that kind of representation for quite some time. So it's time for us to bring back a lot more teeth in the game. And I'll put myself forward for this position.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks-Hurlston. Ms. Bush?
Good evening, and thank you to the Chamber, and good evening to my fellow Caymanians. I'm running here for the constituency of West Bay North because I have a genuine connection to my people. I understand their struggles. I understand what it is to work with the youth, the elderly. I've been in homes and I've seen the fight that they have, the fight that we as a people have in our own country. We're at a pivotal point in our country right now where we need representation that isn't going to make the popular call, but is going to make the hard calls that are going to benefit our people. Our people are screaming. They're no longer just crying, but they're screaming, and their voices need to be heard. There's genuine value in the voices of our people, and they need representation that will stand firm and include them in the way forward. I understand what it is to put in the work on the ground, and it means everything to me because that has been my life's journey to this point. And West Bay North needs representation that is young, that is full and vibrant of new ideas and hard work and effort, because we have a journey ahead of us. We have a fight ahead of us that we have to fight, and we have to bring people together instead of burning bridges and tearing people down.
Thank you, Ms. Bush.
Okay, for round two, we'll start with you, Mr. Anglin. What are the top 3 national issues you would prioritize if elected, and why?
Question, Shamari. The top 3 national issues that I would prioritize is immigration reform, education reform, in particular technical vocation reform, and housing reform. Let me begin with immigration reform. Anyone that's read my manifesto will see that I've clearly articulated a comprehensive set of immigration policies that begin with a 7-year rollover policy, ensuring that we have a 24-month moratorium on the grant of permanent residence in Caymanian status immediately after the election, ensuring that the 30 points that are allocated to anyone who invests in housing in the Cayman Islands under the permanent residency regime is immediately eliminated. Quite put shortly, the next government is going to have to appoint an immigration review team in addition to having an immigration transition bill right after the next election. As it relates to technical and vocational studies, everyone will know I introduced the Cayman Islands Further Education Center. However, nothing has been done for the last 12 years in regards to building that center into the National Trade School as it was envisioned when I demitted office. I plan to complete that work. In order for Caymanians, young Caymanians, to be able to transition from the school system, from the education system to the world of work, we must have strong apprenticeship and traineeship programs in our country. I am also proposing an education leaving age of 18 so that when our people leave the education system, they're actually adults. Lastly, on housing, I'm proposing to eliminate the 1% on all mortgage documents to ensuring that government actually participates actively in the delivery of housing, and that anyone who builds housing in Cayman will be able to apply to government once it's within the criteria set, which will be below $500,000, to have all government duties waived, so that those waivers will then serve as an equity credit for every Caymanian who applies to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin. Mr. Ebanks-Hurslin.
Thank you for the question. First off on my list would be cost of living. We've all spoke about this multiple times about how to reduce the cost. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that the majority of our costs is relation to the shelf product. I think if we can work in partnership with other countries in South America and Central America, we can eliminate the logistics aspect of it, increase the lifetime on the life or shelf life for the product that we're importing as well, but also cut down on the cost related to fuel. The second on my list is unemployment. Unemployment is a big factor here, and the reason being is because we never had a true succession plan for our children. Proper training in school, identifying their weak points and strengths was critical in preparing them for the future. Immigration, again, I do also agree with immigration reform, and that needs to be done ASAP, because at the moment we are completely inflated, the market is saturated, and our children are having a difficult time to transition into jobs that should be for them. One of the other aspects that I want to touch on the most as well too is the fact that we need to put a moratorium on status grants for 2 years to ensure that we can get our bearings together and understand the true dynamics of the situation, so that we can come up with true and strong policies that would take us further into the future.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Bush.
Thank you. The 3 topics that I would address would be immigration reform, education, and cost of living. Immigration reform, because I do strongly believe that our immigration issues start from the day the persons land on our borders, on our doorsteps. It is a spider web effect that is touching every single sector of our country, and we're feeling the impacts of that in every single area. We have infrastructure that is bursting at the seams. We have schools looking at the same problem. We have jobs that are not even offered to Caymanians at this point, and we're feeling the stress of it as a people. Education, because we have to ensure that our school leavers, that all our children get a sound, strong, valid education that prepares them to be a part of the working world. Cost of living. It is one thing to struggle, but it is one thing for your ends to never meet. Our people need relief. Our people need to be able to afford the necessities of life. Our people need to be able to feel a sense of calm. They need to be able to have a balance that is work-life balance, and they need to be able to afford the needs that they have in their households. So these three topics will be the focus of my campaign. Although we have many issues that we need to cover, it is definitely immigration reform, education, and cost of living.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. Mr. Rivers?
So the three topics, the three national issues that are important to me is tourism, agriculture, and the environment. I'll start with tourism. Our tourism product has dwindled drastically from the golden ages of it, and that is because we have unfortunately dwindled away from the actual core of how tourism began in this country, the people. Caymanians know the product best because they were the arbiters of it. They created this system that allowed for financial services to thrive. People came back to this island because of how welcoming and kind we were. And I think we need to get back to that product. That needs to be an industry that is secured exclusively for Caymanians in this country, because we built it and we need to maintain it, because no one knows that product better than our people. When it comes to agriculture is extremely important to the country, because if we're going to even consider the fact of cost of living, we consume food every single day, and we need to diversify where we get our food sources from amongst our regional partners in the area. When it comes to environment is super crucial, because if we only have so much square mass of land in this country, and if we continue this unbridled development that we are currently facing in this country without a proper and comprehensive and fit for purpose national development plan, we will continue to suffer as a country. This is how areas like Barkers need to be protected under national park legislation. They should not be bargaining chips ever again. And we need to ensure that in the future, we identify key and crucial areas like Barkers, like the Central Mangrove Wetland, and the Parrot Reserve on the Sister Islands to protect for future generations to enjoy in this country. Because if we have no environment, we have no people. We have no people, we have no country. And if we have no country, we all perish. Thank you.
Mr. Rivers?
Mr. Ebanks-Hilson, we'll start with you for question number 3. And the next 3 questions cover the Chamber pillar of advancing quality of life. Are you satisfied with the current public healthcare services in West Bay? And if not, what specific improvements would you recommend?
Thank you for the question, Amar. First off, I'm not really impressed with the current facility. I think that our population has grown so much that the facility cannot accommodate. So we definitely need to allocate funding to expand that operation. More importantly, we have to do a lot more to take care of our seniors, creating a fixed schedule to pick up our seniors, to be able to carry them to the location, to be treated properly on time, and not just be partial with the approach. We definitely know that improving overall, educating our people in the community as well about the benefits of, obviously using the correct methods of having a better and healthier lifestyle is important. So getting that out into the public is also very crucial for lowering the chances of people, having issues with their health and so forth. So we definitely need to educate our people about what's out there. How can you improve your lifestyle? Second of all, creating an actual fixed schedule to help our seniors to be able to meet their objectives and get their treatment that they need. And secondly, invest more in the facility to expand that to take care of the population.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks-Hilson. Ms. Bush?
One thing I will say about the current healthcare service in West Bay is that it is servicing our people well. You always hear good comments about it. You always hear that they're very familiar, and especially from the older generation, they have a deep appreciation for who's there and what they're doing for them. However, with the growth that we've experienced in West Bay, we do know that the facility definitely needs to be expanded. The location of it, when you look at the logistics of that, expanding it is something we have to plan carefully. We don't want to lose that service while we're growing that facility for our people. But it is critical that we start to look at the expansion of it. The school alone, in just children having to pop in for any minor cases, that can be an overload or a burden on it. So expansion is definitely one. We also need to look, like Jermaine said earlier, how we ensure that our elderly are vulnerable, those that are special needs have access to it and the availability they have. Because one of the things we're seeing with our families is that they struggle to get their loved ones there. We also need to ensure that we build on knowledge when it comes to healthy lifestyles and ensuring that our people have access to healthier foods so that we do reduce the chances of people getting more sick and having to visit there. And even opportunities for our elderly and our youth, everyone in particular, I mean, just the entire district, to have spaces where they can exercise so that we reduce healthcare issues. But all in all, yes, healthcare service itself is wonderful. We need to expand it, and we need to ensure that our elderly and our most vulnerable in our communities have access to it.
Thank you, Ms. Bush.
Thank you.
Mr. Rivers?
Thank you for the question. As an individual that has a special needs twin brother and an elderly grandmother, I can tell you from firsthand experience, especially with my elderly grandmother at the moment, I do believe that the staff at the West Bay Healthcare Services provide a great service, but unfortunately they are working with the technology and the state of the entity itself the best that they can. We do need to expand because West Bay is still a rapidly growing district, and what we have access to in the district is extremely limited. I'll touch on my brother for a second. Time is of the essence with someone like that has special needs, and a trip from West Bay to Georgetown can become extremely cumbersome and extremely difficult. So I do think it is imperative that we look at expanding healthcare services within the district, even if that means we use the unused land behind the current facility right now and develop a new, more closer to the state-of-the-art, modern facility that can accommodate persons with those kinds of needs. That way, having a lot of life-saving measures right there inside of West Bay and not having to waste 15 to 20 minutes in the sense of an emergency to have to go all the way to town to get these essential services. So I do think that they are doing the best that they can with what they have actively available to them. But we as a country and a government need to look at how we're going to service our most vulnerable, our indigent, and our elderly a lot better in this country. So we need to actually spend money on our people, not on ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Mr. Anglin?
Thank you very much for the question. Healthcare hits close to home for all of us, and all of us get older, and all of us will have older relatives. Whilst the actual provision of healthcare services in the district is one that is laudable, we do have to ensure that we look very closely at the delivery of services. One of the big complaints that we actually get from persons who have to visit the facility is overcrowding, lack of space in the waiting room, and lack of dental care. So to be very specific, we do need to expand the West Bay Health Clinic. However, we have to be realistic. In a country of our size, we're not going to be able to have a mini hospital in every district. And so it is a district clinic. And so in expanding the clinic, we have to be able to accommodate our growing population. We have to also implement, as I've said in my manifesto, a shuttle service so that seniors are able to get to and from appointments on a timely basis. I have seen seniors have to wait their hours to be able to get back home because of the limited time a lot of their loved ones have when they have to leave work to get them there. We also have to expand the dental clinic services in the district. That is one area that we do need to ensure that we expand so that the school can benefit and we can have children having access to that service from a very early age and be able to service our elderly. But all in all, we have to ensure that the facility does not continue to be overcrowded with people having to wait on the outside, and be able to get our seniors to and fro their services in a quick and timely manner. And lastly, as it relates to actual pharmaceuticals, we need to go back to having a delivery system that was inexpensive and quite frankly worked extremely well. We need to ensure our seniors get access to their prescriptions on a timely basis.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin.
Question number 4, we'll start with you, Ms. Bush. Has to do with waste management. What are your views on waste management and the Georgetown landfill? And what specific solutions do you propose to address this ongoing issue?
We know the landfill is a huge problem that our country is facing right now and how we're going to manage it. I think we need to open the tables and open the discussion for stakeholders, for more experts, because we do have that expertise in this country, to sit and properly come up with solutions that are not as expensive, as costly as what they had initially proposed, and solutions that will provide us with the least amount of harm done. At the moment, we're starting to see the damage that is causing, the fires, the contamination to the water levels. We're also starting to see an unplanned approach happening in the sister islands, and we need to find a plan that works for us. I will not say that I'm an expert in this area. I will not say that I have the solution for it, but I will say that we need to come together to sit and talk about the real issues and stop making it about a money-making project or something that the special interests dip their fingers in, because this is a real issue that we are facing and we have to solve it. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it, but our people need to come together to have proper solutions on it. And I think that expertise sits right here with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. Mr. Rivers?
Thank you for the question. I think we need to look at it a little bit differently. We have seen with the failed regen project that this country was about to be plummeted into upwards to almost $2 billion worth of debt over the next 25 years. That's unfeasible for any country. We do not have the population to facilitate a project of that magnitude. We have to look at alternative ways of removing dry waste from our country. So we have, for instance, I'll give you an example here. We have cargo ships that come into this country that deliver food and goods to this country, but on their next leg back to the United States, they carry nothing. I think it'd be more cost effective for our country if we decide that if we can package correctly our dry waste and send it on those cargo ships back to the US, where there's actually the ability to process that on a larger scale, where there's money in that. This should not be a project for profit. That is half the problem in this country. We don't look for the solution. We look for how we can profit from it. Any proceeds and gains gained from that process should go back into paying the cargo suppliers on their ways to and fro the country. That way we can ensure that we're not only reducing the size of the landfill, but we're getting rid of the toxic waste that we are creating in this country and sending it off to much larger countries that have the easy access of processing all of that waste. Thank you.
Mr. Rivers? Mr. Anglin?
Well, thank you for the question. My view on the current waste management in the Georgetown landfill is that it's a national disgrace and a national disaster. So what do we do? What are the specific solutions? Firstly, we have to stop talking about it and we have to implement a national recycling program. We have to ensure that all plastics, cardboard, aluminum cans, tin cans and glass are all dealt with separately. We can crush glass locally, we can shred metal locally, and we can ensure we bale cardboard and plastics and export them from the country so that they're diverted from the landfill. One of the most critical other areas that has to be addressed is organic waste. We also have to implement an organic waste solution. That is foods and our green shrubberies. Both of those can actually be combined to ensure that we generate soil additives in our country. This happens all over the world. This isn't anything that's new and creative and innovative. It has to simply be done. Once you stream those from the landfill, we then have to deal with cars, white goods, and all of the heavy products. For cars, we need to have a center where we ensure we strip them, we take out all of the dangerous oils, etc., from the cars and crush them and have them exported from the country. Then we have to ensure that the last strand that we deal with is all of our white goods. Very, very difficult to handle, very, very difficult to process on a small island. However, once we remove all of the dangerous gases from them, We simply have to ensure that we're crushing them and getting them out of Cayman. How are we going to do this? We can either do it through government saying that they're going to be efficient to do it, or we can bid out certain aspects of it. That is going to be up to the next government as to the actual processing and how you handle the economics of it. But quite frankly, it's a national disgrace, it's a national disaster, and those are my specific policies as to how to deal with the Georgetown landfill.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin. Mr. Ebanks-Ralston.
Thank you, Shamari, for the question. At the moment, the landfill is working quite sufficiently for what it has. If my opponent took the time to do research, they currently do have an operation where they dismantle vehicles, stripping it down to bare bone. They also have the biggest issue that landfill currently has is not just dry waste, but also tire waste. I think by having a shredder machine here, that we can break that product down to where we can incorporate it into our streets, doing paving our main roads, etc., would be beneficial. I've always been outspoken about the landfill. I think that we're not giving our people the opportunity to invest in a product that are equipped or a facility that will put out more for our people, i.e. by giving them a chance to buy into shares. As the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. The landfill produces money, but under the right kind of management, it can be a very lucrative venture that many of our own people can partake in and actually benefit from. So I think if we have enough right people on the right side, we can invest money into this facility, finish off what the RenGen project was intended to be, because countries like Singapore right now are importing tons of trash from other jurisdictions to run their generators to produce energy for their country, and it's working quite well. So that just tells you that there is money to be made in this section as well.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks-Ralston.
Well, thank you, candidates. We've gone through the first round of questions. We're going to take a short commercial break. Please stay with us.
EV public charging can be a bit tricky to navigate if you're new to the game. But fear not. Here's a little 101 on all things public charging at your CUC charge station. The first tip is to get the mobile app up and ready on your phone before you charge your EV at the charging location. You can scan the QR code to load the app from sitting in your car. Download the mobile app, register a charge account, load money into your charge wallet. You must have a minimum of US $5 balance in your charge wallet to begin a charging session. Scan the QR code again to start a charging session using this charger. You can also enter the station ID number into the app. Follow the instructions on the mobile app to initiate your charging session. Now you're ready to charge your EV. Select either the right or the left charge plug. Plug your car in and make sure it shows as charging on your dashboard. Charging for 1 hour will give you up to 35 miles of charge. Charging to 80% optimizes battery life and reduces the risk of overcharging. So in that time, you can shop or go to work or chat with fellow EV owners. It's a real community out there. Great to see you, Maya. Happy charging, everyone. See you on the road.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
In the Cayman Islands, our habitats, including coral reefs, coastlines, and mangroves, are all dependent on one another. Our economy is no different. From people to businesses, right through to government, it's all connected. And just like everyone wants a healthy ecosystem, everyone wants a healthy economy too. Cayman is a top-ranked international financial center and domicile for captives, investment funds, and pensions worldwide. And our biggest economic contributor? Construction, you ask? Not quite. Tourism? Close. It's true that we're a country of consumers, and the more people we have using our services, the more money we make. But our actual greatest economic contributor is our world-class financial services. Long ago, we had a simple economy. One person has fish, another person needs to eat. That's a transaction. Now imagine that instead of fish, it's a boat, a house, or a car, or a fleet, or business you can earn on. That's investment. But what if you're in Canada and your investment is based in China? Whose rules and regulation do you use? Cayman maintains a high level of integrity with a stable government and a UK-based legal system, globally respected for fairness. That's why so many countries choose us for these transactions. The more transactions we do, the more specialized we become, and the more our economy grows. The result? Cayman is now home to many of the world's top accountants, law firms, banks, fiduciary firms, and administrators. Unlike most countries, Cayman doesn't add an extra layer of taxes on top of tax paid in an investor's home country. That way, there's no duplication of taxation. Instead, our financial services fees ensures constant investment in our professional sector's exceptional service. Cayman's tax-neutral status combats tax evasion with legislation, regulation, and more, ensuring the highest international standards for transparency and cross-border cooperation and attracting reputable investors. All these factors make the Cayman Islands an ideal and trusted international financial center.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for West Bay North. Gone through the first 4 questions. We're turning to the next 4, and we're going to begin with public safety, and I'll turn it back over to Amari Corbin.
Thanks, Will. Mr. Rivers, we'll start with you for question number 5, which is the last question on our chamber pillar of advancing quality of life. Do you believe the police have taken adequate steps to prevent incidents like the Ed Bush Stadium shooting from happening again? And if not, what would you recommend to improve safety at public events?
Thank you for the question. Unfortunately, what we're dealing with in the country is a mass amount of crime. Crime is extremely on the rise in the country. When it comes to our police service, I feel that we are operating at a level where it could be improved. We have a lot of blind spots in the country, and I think that in order to close a lot of those blind spots, we need to look at how we view police and public engagement. I do personally feel that the community has lost a lot of faith in the police service. We have now implemented community safety officers to try and create more engagement, but I don't think that enough is being done on that leg to make persons feel more comfortable with police officers. So if we are looking to mitigate in the long run any kind of increased crime, it does take a community. Police officers can't be everywhere all times of the day at any point in time. We need persons in the community that are able to know exactly where the drug dealers are, where the criminals are, and be able to relate to that information to said police officers in a safe and comfortable manner. That is the only way. When we're talking about incidences like Ed Bush, to this day, I don't think we've heard exactly what was the core of that issue. You can call it gang-related, call it what you want. But if we had a community that felt comfortable with its police service, you'd have had a lot more information on what was taking place long before it actually happened. So if we're going to look at trying to protect our community, I strongly urge the RCIPS to ramp up their community engagement and make the populace feel a lot more comfortable with them again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Mr. Anglin?
Thank you very much for that question. And the specific question is, do you believe the police have taken adequate steps to prevent incidents like the Ed Bush? Police are built to investigate. Prevention starts in schools. Prevention starts in pro-social activities to have people not commit crimes in the first place. And so we ought to be very, very clear about what we expect of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. We need to have a police service that not only engages the public with lip service, but actually has mobile police stations in all hotspots in Cayman. If you look at a lot of models used around the world, police services actually integrate themselves as core officers in the actual communities that they are expected to police. When you do that, you get people who trust the police, who will give information to the police, and police who can actually be effective at their jobs. Until we stop paying lip service to this whole community policing model and actually do it, we're not going to bear any fruit. But on the prevention side, we need to ensure we're very, very clear about prevention. Prevention is about all of us as stakeholders, education, social clubs, having a very, very clear focus on at-risk youth and ensuring that we're training them up with the adequate skills to enter the workforce and not resort to a life of crime. That is how we're going to prevent incidents like Ed Bush playing field. How we then solve them is through the police being truly integrated with the public, ensuring the public trust the police service that are expected to actually police all of us. And then we can then have a true community policing service. And it's critically important that we do this. We got to stop playing the lip service. We're a small country. It is too long that we've had the police seen as those guys and the community seen as us. We must all be one.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin. Mr. Ebanks Hostin?
Thank you for the question, Mari. To be quite honest, I don't think that situation was handled quite well. In fact, I was able to attend a town hall several weeks after the incident where the police openly stated they had ideas of who was these hot zones, as what Mr. Anglin related to, knows exactly the data of who's could potentially be involved with these type of activities. So we need to be able to train our police officers to know how they can enforce the law much more better. Because I find that with police officers here, sometimes they're a bit timid to put themselves forward to address the issues because they may not be fully confident about the laws. So additional training is needed. Again, going back to education as well, me coming from the area of West Bay North, going up through the system, the biggest issue that we had again was the fact that there was not enough community support for the youth. Children are coming up in broken homes, lack of resources, lack of opportunities to grow up the employment scale. These are all factors that weigh down our children, which then allow them to resort to committing crimes. And I don't think anyone is born with the idea of wanting to be someone who is put into the system. Unfortunately, we've had multiple governments that have failed our people in the community, and specifically our children. So we need to improve that and build that relationship and understand that the police are there to serve, but we have to regain trust from the police as well to the community, because prior to the mass status grants, we had a very tight community where police officers and the community work together to solve issues quite rapidly. And that's where we have to start focusing on.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks-Ralston. Ms. Bush?
Thank you. That incident did shake our entire district. And I remember discussions, and it always came back to us and them when it came to the community and police. That's a scary place to be. When speaking with police, you hear them talk about the hot spots in our community. However, with the growth that has happened over the last 10 years, every part of our community now should be a hot spot. We're seeing increased crimes, vandalism of property, stolen cars. People just don't feel safe. Yes, the incident at Ed Bush is an escalated form of that. However, we need to work on building relationships in our communities, from our police officers back to the community officers. When speaking with women and children in particular in the district, they find a sense of safety when they see those blue lights flash. So police presence does play its part. And what we're also seeing in West Bay is more police cars than we find in police officers. So we need to increase the number of police officers and find a strategic way that there's presence felt throughout the community and that there's a sense of peace brought back to it. When they start to build relationships, that is when they're going to get more information on what is happening on the ground. And that is key to community security. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bush.
The next questions, a group of questions, have to do with the chamber pillar for building a future-ready workforce. Question 6, we'll start with you, Mr. Anglin. Employers report a disconnect between education and the job market. Would you support merging the education and labor portfolios? If so, what changes would you propose?
Thank you for that question. The framework was left at the Cayman Islands Further Education Center to actually fully implement the British education system. For too long in our community and our country, we've concentrated purely on children who were already going to soar. What do I mean by that? The children who did well on their external examinations did extremely well. However, we did not address two critically important issues. One, our education leaving age. We're still one of the few countries in the world that expect children to go into the labor force and survive. We have a country where you cannot legally buy alcohol. You cannot legally buy tobacco products, but you're expected to go out and make it in this world if you're not going to be pursuing tertiary education. That madness must stop. We have to ensure that the Cayman Islands Further Education Center's phase 2 of development, where we move from just having resets for children who need that second chance to ensuring that we have a wide suite of apprenticeship programs that are tied directly to jobs and workplaces who mandatorily will have to give places to every single Caymanian child. The Further Education Center will then ensure that once we've worked with the private sector and picked the qualifications that each sector wants, whether it's plumbing, electrical, and HVAC, and those sorts of technical areas, what we then do is ensure that our children, before they exit the system, are in an apprenticeship program that will lead to employment. You don't actually need to merge those portfolios. You simply have to do what is necessary in public education. That is, be strategic and ensure that public education works for Cayman and Caymanian children.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin. Mr. Ebanks-Ralston.
Hey, thank you for the question, Shamari. I have always been someone that voices concern regarding the opportunity for our children to integrate into the workforce. From looking at the environment, we have failed our children because at the end of the day, we have not provided them a succession plan. What we need to do is revamp our curriculum that allows us to compete at a higher level, taking models from other jurisdictions such as Sweden, Finland, and other places like Singapore, where they have a high output of children that are excelling. We have over 130 nationalities here that we cannot have a cookie cutter approach. I think it's time for us to invest more in our children. Also, the fact of the matter is we have also lowered the passing grade for our children, which puts them at a disadvantage when trying to acquire scholarships and expand themselves going abroad. There are so many things that we can actually do to improve that relationship between employers and the education system, but we have to identify what our children actually are calling for when it comes to whether or not they want to go into a full-fledged trade school. Again, incentivize those children to go to school, because one of the markets that we are suffering with, and we always talk about, is tourism. Tourism was our pillar, and at some point we have lost that connection of not wanting to promote our children to have them chase after this dream of being involved with tourism. So that is one of the things I would like to promote, is having people who wish to go into tourism will be incentivized as well to go to trade school, to learn trade, to be a part of the job market as well. So again, I do agree that there is much work to be done, but we have to start from an education level and then work into it. The other issue that I'm seeing working in my environment is the outsourcing of jobs that could be assigned to children coming out of high school, learning obviously from an entry-level position as a junior admin, etc. These are jobs that are now currently being outsourced. Why are we allowing this work to be outsourced to jurisdictions like Mauritius in India, when we have children coming out every single year looking for a job? We have now changed their minds from tourism to now focus more on finance, yet they have nothing to come back home to. So working in partnership with chambers, we're hoping that we can build that bridge, that we can give our children a chance to have an opportunity to go into the financial sector.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks-Hurlston. Ms. Bush?
Thank you. We need to ensure that the education that our students are receiving meets the standard that is required if they were to leave school and go into the job force. We need to ensure that the education that they're receiving is sound and that they are prepared to work. Now, what we're seeing now are students that are leaving at 16, 17 years of age, which makes it very hard for them to be employed. However, if we start to look at a system where jobs in this country are listed under whether you need a high school diploma for it, so we're looking in depth at the job descriptors, whether you need a bachelor's or a master's and so forth, then we can start to earmark work for our young people, for Caymanians. So when you look at the data that was presented in January and February of this year by WRC, there was something like 1,200 jobs under the high school requirement that were listed. Only requiring a high school degree, a high school diploma. The question that I had after looking at that data was, how many resulted in a work permit being proposed versus a Caymanian getting that job? When you look at that data and you ask yourself those questions, and you have to evaluate, are our children even prepared to have that job and keep those jobs? So the job market is important for us to evaluate what it is and what we need for the job market, so we can set an educational standard that meets just that. But what happens also is when our children come back from school or they leave high school with the prerequisites that they need, then they're being turned around. So yes, education and labor portfolios, I'm not sure if I would say that I would merge them, but I think that they need to communicate. And just like the systems that we currently have in place, like the scholarship secretariat, and we have our school leavers, we have the WRC platform. We need to make sure that they're speaking to each other, so that it's a seamless system or a process where our people can actually get the jobs that they have been qualified for, and that they can keep those jobs to add, so they can be a part of the market.
Thank you, Ms. Bush.
Thank you.
Mr. Rivers?
Thank you. What we're seeing here is a strong lack of opportunity in this country for younger persons because of the moves and takes of visionless leaders over the past 25 years when it's come to education, and the lack of an implementation of the implementation of a TVET training school. Contrary to popular belief, there is more than one way of getting an education. Just because you either did not have the ability, the financial resources, or the opportunity to get a tertiary education does not mean that you should be left out of the job market. This is where TVET comes in. And if we actually had leaders in this country with vision that have been implemented decades ago, I do believe that we need to merge education and labor together in order to ensure that persons that either go through the program or go off to gain tertiary education know exactly what they're going away for to actually come back to the jobs that are here. And those persons in the TVET program can be seamlessly merged into the industries that already exist in this country. If we do, and because of that now, what we have seen is the politicization of our education department, where it changes every 4 years depending on the education minister. We have to see a world without ourselves in it. And if we continue to politicize education in this country, our children will continue to fail. So if you ask me, I can tell you the simple answer to that. We need to create a commission, a council, or a board that oversees education in this country, that removes the political football foolishness that we are experiencing currently, so children no longer suffer at the hands of reckless, negligent politicians in this country. And that's my answer for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers.
Mr. Ebanks Hurlston, we'll start with you for question number 7. West Bay is the second most populated district, but it does not have its own high school. Would you support the construction of a high school in West Bay over the next 4 years? And if so, how would you propose funding it?
Thank you for the question, Amari. I completely agree with constructing a high school in West Bay to accommodate, because it offers so many avenues of relief, i.e. traffic, having people in closer proximity to their children. It just works really well. I think what we can do to actually support or to get the funding needed to push this project through, I will go on a limb and say this completely. We have to stop giving due to concessions, and we need to start looking at finding ways to tap into the market where we have holding companies with large plots of land and implement fees to have a return so that we can increase our revenue to put back into our children and into our elderly. So that's my answer for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks Hurlston. Ms. Bush?
Thank you. I would definitely support a high school being constructed in West Bay. We're seeing on average 100 students leaving the primary school year, which also needs to be expanded because of the growth in West Bay. In regards to funding it, I think that the 2% property tax that was proposed in the House recently, that was turned down for foreign investment here, is something that could benefit this country in many different areas. We're looking at it in healthcare. That could solve a lot of the questions that we have in regards to that, as well as with funding for education and youth. It is critical that we ensure that our children have spaces, and it's not just West Bay. We need to look across the island. We are seeing population growth. We are seeing a larger number of children attending schools, and the traffic that it causes, because we all see it when school is out, traffic is far easier. We need to figure out means of expansion so that it best benefits our districts, our children. And to add to that, expansion can also help us with the large numbers of classroom sizes with the teachers to student ratio. If we can add more classrooms, if we can hold those children and split them up, I should say, a bit more so that the teacher-student ratio is reduced, less children in the classroom, teachers have more access to working with children longer, that plays a beneficial role in what we do as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. Mr. Rivers?
Thank you for the question. I fully support building a school over the next 4 years in the District of West Bay, because we are, as it states here, we are the second most populated district in the country. It is not a matter about looking where we're going to get funding from. We have a massive budget in this country. It comes down to transparency and accountability as to how we spend our money in this country. Government collects massive revenues. They have TP slush funds all over the place just so they can service their friends on special interests. So if you're going to ask the question as to how we're going to fund it, we have the full capability of funding it. It just takes having a transparent and accountable government that we no longer have to wait excess amount of years to fund this project, or while it drags on and because government never has a project that's either on time or on budget or even under budget. I think if we combine those few factors, we'll get exactly what we need in the near future, and everyone will be happy for it. No one can say that, wow, we wasted another $150 million on a school of opulence, for instance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Mr. Anglin?
Thank you for this question. This isn't a question as to whether or not the four of us support it. Both the Clifton Under High School and the John Gray High School are struggling with placements. That is an absolute fact. The country needs a third high school. However, we need to ensure that the next government is going to be sensible about how it goes about procuring assets. All we have to do is look at prep and Catholic school as to how you construct schools that are going to deliver what students need, safe and modern learning spaces. We have to look at how we procure assets. The government has set up a system where you look at the Cayman Islands government's capacity. And if any of us in this room were to go to the table and say, we want to build a high school, and we go through the process and we do it as individuals, I can tell you we would build it for less than half of what the Cayman Islands government builds any facility for. We have to just be smarter about how it is we go about procuring assets. When we look at those two schools, Prep and Catholic, we will see two institutions that are working extremely well and producing world-class results. The Cayman Islands need to ensure that we stop this bankrupt policy where we go through and for ticking boxes, all we do is drive up the cost as to what any project in the Cayman Islands cost versus how the private sector can deliver it. But let me be very, very clear. I certainly do not propose any privatization of education in Cayman. The Cayman Islands people elect representatives. You must have ministers who are responsible for all areas in this country, and the electors must hold them all accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin.
Okay, to start round 8, we'll start with you, Ms. Bush. Are you concerned about the outsourcing of middle-income jobs in the financial services sector to other jurisdictions? What would you do to retain these jobs in the local community?
Thank you. Yes, I am concerned. I think that we need to be mindful on how jobs are outsourced in this country. We're already seeing a need for job opportunities, and I'm a strong believer that we need to earmark a lot of jobs for Caymanians and Caymanians only. This will definitely help with the work permit issue that we have, and we need to stop looking at work permits from a means of just revenue. We need to take care of our people first. To retain these jobs, definitely in the financial sector, I think that we need to make a push and probably incentivize some of the scholarship opportunities for students that are going to study within the financial sector or jobs within that. And if we incentivize it and we actually advertise it properly in the schools for our young people that are interested in this area, they will jump at it. And I think that we'll see an increase in those jobs locally, or those persons qualified locally to be able to hold these jobs. Thank you.
Mr. Rivers?
Thank you for the question. So what we're seeing here is we see a lot of young professional business-minded individuals that go off to school and come back to a country that has no opportunity for them. We have implemented a business staffing plan in this country. Now, if we're going to deal with the enforcement of that, we have to look at what succession planning looks like in this country. If our children go off to school, get a top-tier education to come back to the jobs that actually exist here, I think that we should secure these jobs for them through whatever means necessary in conjunction, and we can look at it as a public-private partnership with the various entities that exist in this country. But we can no longer look, as Shakina mentioned earlier, at immigration as a sole source of revenue. Because if we keep on looking at that, what we've continued to do is neglect our young professionals, and they're being kicked out of the financial sector in mass rates. We have to have a higher level of local retention. And I think if we prioritize when they come back, they have a good level of job security in this country, I think we'll sort that problem out very simply.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Mr. Anglin?
Thank you. Globalization and outsourcing is a very, very complex economic issue. Cayman is not the only country that faces this. You look at the great United States and how many of their businesses and industries outsource pieces of their businesses to places like India, etc. Outsourcing in Cayman is not a new phenomenon. We had outsourcing from the days of Halifax becoming a new center for fund administration, etc. We have to accept that in a world where globalization means that companies are going to make the best decisions for themselves, what we have to do is invest in our people, invest in our talent. The more we invest in our local talent, the more apt businesses will be to ensure that they keep as many jobs in the Cayman Islands as possible. However, let us be very frank with the public. There are a number of jobs that when you have them done in much cheaper jurisdictions, you come up with a real conundrum. Can government go to the private sector and say, you shall do X, Y, Z in Cayman? That is not going to happen. Anyone that promises that, it's not going to happen. We have to ensure that we invest in our local talent and ensure that we're very, very strategic about what centers of excellence look like in Cayman. And the jobs that we actually do here, we do them at a world-class level. We train our people up. We work closely with industry to ensure that government is not an obstacle to employment and businesses growing their business. But the real fact of the matter is globalization is here to stay, and there are real costs to every one of us when it comes to globalization. And let's be very, very clear. We can make all the grandiose plans and promises and loud statements we want. Globalization is real, and Cayman is not going to be immune to globalization.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin. Mr. Ebax Hurlston.
Thank you for the question, Shamari. I think openly that the private sector wants to work with us. The private sector acknowledges that there is a lot of opportunity for growth in Cayman. We just have not had a proper government with backbone or foresight to initiate these kind of conversations. I myself work in the private sector, and seeing it firsthand, there is an opportunity for us to work closely with the Chamber of Commerce and other partners in this sector to ensure that we can set a threshold for each of the employers so that they can keep a certain profit margin, but also retain a position or hold positions in place for Caymanians to be able to fill these roles. There's no snap of the finger solution, but building a closer relationship with the private sector and the government working closely with them will ensure that we have an open dialogue. It'll promote further growth and also help us to understand where do we have to allocate our resources and energy. Who should we put forward to help implement these new rules and regulations? Is not just, and anyone here on this panel cannot stand here and say they're professional in every field. We have to look for the right professionals to be able to build out these programs to allow our children to grow up the ladder of success and be integrated into the financial sector.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks Hurlston.
Gone through 8 questions. Thank you, candidates, so far. We have the final 4 questions to the panels for the candidates. At this time, we're going to take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for West Bay North. Gone through the first 8 questions. We're on the final set of 4 questions. The next topic is going to be cruise tourism, and I'll turn it back over to Omari.
Thanks, Will. And candidates, the next 4 questions will be based on the Chamber pillar of sustaining economic success. And Mr. Rivers, will start with you for question number 9. The Cayman Turtle Center employs over 100 people, most of whom are from West Bay, and relies heavily on cruise tourism for its income. With cruise numbers continuing to decline, the center will struggle to maintain its current operations in 2026, despite its annual subsidy of $6 million. If elected, would you support increasing its funding or propose alternative strategies to secure the future of one of Cayman's most visited attractions?
Thank you for the question. When it comes to the Cayman Turtle Center, that is not only a very prominent part of our tourism product, it also has a lot of history behind it. Now, if we're going to talk about removing our history by lack of subsidies, I think we need to look in the opposite direction of that. That historically has what has created things like the turtle, which is one of our national dishes. I do not think that we can lose an attraction of that magnitude. When it comes to the decline in cruise tourism here now, we have to decide how long we're going to stay in this business if we are going to continue down that avenue. It's as being that cruise tourism actually affects the country in both a positive and to an extent a negative fashion. But what I can tell you is that government collects a lot of revenue from cruise tourism, whether they get off the cruise lines or not. What we're seeing in that department is that not only does the Turtle Center collect a lot of business from that, taxi drivers are also beneficiaries of this, right? If we're going to move, let's just say we're taking cruise, for instance, if we're choosing to put a cruise port in West Bay, all those taxi operators will lose that fare from Georgetown to West Bay. So what I would suggest is that we look at how we're going to address cruise tourism in the future. We need a proper comprehensive national development plan for that, because we have very limited space and very limited options. What I can tell you, back to the subsidy of that, I would support increasing that subsidy for the Turtle Center.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Mr. Anglin?
Yes, thank you for the question. So I would support increasing the subsidy on a number of fronts. One, it's hugely important economically. It's hugely important as part of our tourism product. It's hugely important to our people and the way we have built out our Cayman Islands, but in particular our district of West Bay. In regards to specific strategies, one of the things that the next government is going to have to do is, along with the board of the Cayman Turtle Center and the senior management team, we have got to look at what the Cayman Turtle Center is, what it means, and exactly how it's going to produce a product that tourists are actually going to enjoy and actually spend more money at. I don't have the answers. What I can say is there's a lot of answers that resides in their senior management team. There's a lot of talent at the Cayman Turtle Center. We need to ensure that we're working very strongly and very closely with them, because they are the ones that can tell us areas that aren't working too well, that we can have cost savings in. They're the ones that can tell us, here are some of the attractions that are working better, and here is how we can actually earn more revenue from those specific areas. We have to stop believing that politicians can simply from the outside come up with miraculous solutions when a lot of the solutions reside within the people. And in this instance, the senior management team of the Cayman Turtle Center. We have to ensure that the product that is enjoyed by tourists is one that is world-class, one that is first-rate, and one that will incentivize and cause tourists to want to spend more money at the Cayman Turtle Center. But to be very, very specific, yes, I would propose and support increasing the subsidy and work with the senior management team to ensure we build out a financially sustainable model for the Cayman Turtle Center.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin. Mr. Ebanks Hurston.
Thank you for the question, Mari. At the start of this question, what stood out to me the most is 100 people, most of whom are from West Bay. I don't think that we can run the risk of allowing this establishment to fail. I would be fully in support of increasing the funding to obviously accommodate and assist with this program. It is also part of our cultural fabric. If we allow this to even become a privatized establishment, there's no guarantee that the next people or ownership will comply with what we see as fit for our culture, which means the consumption of turtle meat. We are now holding on by a thread of our culture for our culture and our heritage because of past mistakes, past poor decision making. And we want to do our endeavor best to keep that intact, keep what's left intact and grow on top of that. When it comes to tourism, I think ultimately we need to look at creating a finger pier somewhere closer in West Bay to limit the amount of commute, to allow guests to be in closer proximity to the turtle farm, increasing the amount of traffic in the facility. That could be used as a main attraction. The greatest main attraction in the Cayman Islands when it comes to tourism is the Stingray City, believe it or not. We can also shift the agenda by putting a pier closer in West Bay to allow ships to park even closer proximity to encourage more traffic to the facility. And I think that will be beneficial long term.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks Hurston. Ms. Bush.
Thank you. Turtle Farm is something that is very near and dear to our people. It represents a lot. It's a part of our culture. It's something special for us, and I know that it provides a lot of jobs to a lot of West Bayers. It is something that needs to be included in what we need to push out in regards to a tourism plan for this country. We need to strike a fine balance when it comes to tourism, and we understand that that is constantly evaluating those overnight stays and the cruise ships passengers. But I would say that I would support the annual subsidy being increased because of the importance of that institution for us. But I would also want to look at how we could morph that, how we could enhance that turtle center to be something that could probably churn us some revenue in terms of education, making it an educational institution. We have designed and created something very magnificent in that turtle center, and I think that it could be very advantageous. It could be very full of opportunities for other people to learn about what we do there and the preservation of what we do there, the importance of what we do there through education. So maybe even, like I said, morphing that a bit and looking at a model that brings in more educational opportunities in there to teach or to be a lab, something of that sort could be beneficial for that institution as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bush.
And we'll start with you, Mr. Anglin. If elected, would you accept a ministerial position? If yes, which portfolio would you be most qualified to lead?
Thank you very much for the question. So come April 30th, when the people of West Bay North elect me and give me the honor to be their representative, yes, I would negotiate and take up a ministerial position. When it comes to actually looking forward and saying what portfolio, with my background, naturally, I can serve as Minister of Finance. With the achievements that I had in my one term in education, I obviously can serve as Minister of Education. For me, I would be much more interested in seeing who the other 18 people are that are elected and ensure that I fit into the team to optimize the government, to ensure that the government can perform at optimal performance. I'm not going to go to the table believing and saying, oh, I want X, I want Y. It's about a team. It is about how you assemble the strongest possible cabinet for the country. The country needs to have a balanced cabinet where persons are going to check egos at the door and work cohesively as one government. For too long, we've had a country with 8 ministers, 8 governments, all with competing interests and priorities and massive spending when we should actually be saving, given the fact that we're raising over $1 billion in revenue. So for me, I would be looking on to see how I would fit into the team and ensuring that I fit in such a way as to enhance the government, not just look at one specific area and say, oh, I want this, I want that. That for me is just too egotistical. I think you ought to be looking on and saying what's best for Team Cayman, what is best for the Cayman Islands, and how are we going to move forward and ensure that in the next 4 years, which is critical given the amount of areas in this country that are in crisis, how a government is going to function together to actually deliver the governance and leadership that this country desperately needs.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin. Mr. Ebanks Hurlston.
Thank you for the question, Shamari. Initially, I would have to decline because I am not going in here with ego, going here with any underlying agenda. But I would have to give this some real thought if I am selected or to be someone chosen to be fit for a position from a team level. Again, I do support the idea that we need to work unified. We need to find the right people to fill these roles. And it would be very, reckless of me to simply go in there with an agenda to want to take over a ministerial position, but overlook someone who may have a stronger background than I do, or who may have the know-how, but I can still support that person throughout the process to get their jobs, get everything on the agenda completed. At the end of the day, we all have a gift. We all have certain backgrounds, certain skills. We can all work off of each other's strengths to improve and to work forward to build a better Cayman for everybody to enjoy.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks Hurlston. Ms. Bush.
Thank you. We've seen first-time MPs go in and be successful. We've seen some go in and be unsuccessful, holding ministerial posts. And oftentimes, your community is left out. Your community is forgotten when you get this post. For myself, if I was to accept a portfolio, I would first ensure that the West Bay Committee, the District Council, is established and established strong so that our people feel our presence, know our presence, and that there's action constantly going on with your constituents and with your district. For myself, I have a strong background in education, being a teacher in the system. Sport and youth are definitely 3 areas that I have experience in. I have dedicated my life to those areas, and I see myself possibly taking on for the greater of the country. However, I think that there's a level of horse trading that happens after the MPs are named that needs to stop. If we want true change in this country, everyone needs to sit at the table, not in separate rooms. We all need to come together and figure out who is best for what portfolio, who has the most experience for those portfolios, who can support people that have those portfolios so that we can actually get things off the ground, so that we can actually make change for our people, so that things actually happen for our people and that they're supported and taken care of the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. Mr. Rivers.
Thank you. My statements on the campaign trail up until this point have always been that I'm personally not looking to take on a ministry, because what I've realized over the past several years is that usually what you tend to find is that as new elected officials tend to take on ministries, they seem to forget how they got there in the first place, the people on the ground. And I say that not because I feel that I'm incapable of taking on a ministry, but because I know how I got to elected office, and that is by you, the people, electing me. What I can also tell you is that everyone besides myself sitting here is running as an independent. And we've seen over the past 4 years the level of chaos that has been brought to this country due to independent governance. I am with the Cayman Islands National Party, and we have a very cohesive and strong team of a wide, diverse cast net with some of Cayman's biggest success stories in the private sector. What we have had for several decades here now, spanning as far back as 2000, is too many chiefs and not enough Indians. If you were to ask me if I was intending to ever take on a ministry, I can tell you with my over 15 years in the tourism sector that I'm fully capable of taking command of that ministry, as well as looking into the environmental ministry or agriculture, because those are some of the most essential aspects of the Cayman culture, the Cayman brand, and Cayman as a whole. But at the end of the day, what we have lacked in this country is an honest, transparent, and accountable government. If you look at it, if we are looking as a country as to what qualifications are, and if that's all we are voting on, by all means, keep on voting that way. We've seen what experience has gotten us in this country over the past 25 years. What we need to start looking at is the character of individuals we are electing, because not everyone needs to be a minister in this country, but we need to ensure that we have persons of principle and of character. And I can tell you wholeheartedly, Cayman, that is what the Cayman Islands National Party brings to this country, is honesty, integrity, transparency, and accountability. And I look forward to joining them on May 1st as your newly elected government.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers.
Mr. Ebanks Hurlson, we'll start with you for question number 11. Public spending is projected to exceed $1 billion by 2026. Would you support a comprehensive review of government spending, including the potential privatization of certain services?
Thank you for the question, Mari. I completely agree. I completely support that idea. As we noticed, we've seen multiple projects that are not justified, i.e. the Cayman Brac School. That's one major overhead, major expenses that we're going to be paying for quite some time. I think that we could have put a lot more thought into that. And also money that we just lost recently with the RenGen project, $17.7 million. Had we taken the time to identify that there was potential in this industry, we would have prevented ourselves from going into this position of having to dish out more cash. I do feel that we need to have a comprehensive review of government spending to hold people accountable, because over the years, not just the last 4 years, many years, we've seen where reckless spending has caused a knock-on effect for a lot of us. We've seen where people and resources have been limited, taking care of our elderly, having a consistent plan in mind for our youth, programs that help us elevate our community. These are all knock-on effects caused by poor spending and poor planning. So I completely agree with a complete review of the government spending, including the potential privatization of certain services.
Ms. Bush?
Thank you. I agree and support as well. Transparency needs to happen in this country. We need to ensure that our people are well aware and that they feel a sense of security because of transparency and accountability. We see the Auditor General reports. We see a lot of reports coming out. There's a lot of surveys and justifications laid out on tables. And even when we get direction, those are often shelved. So once again, yes, I do support it. And I think that we need to establish a very clear line of transparency when it comes to government spending and looking at what that looks like properly for our people to feel secure that government is spending the money the right way and not just recklessly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. Mr. Rivers?
Thank you for the question. I do not see the need for us to privatize certain services for government, because this is how government collects revenue in this country. What I can tell you that the Cayman Islands National Party intends to do is actually have an internal audit of government to see exactly where the money's going and how we're spending it. That way we can create a pathway for transparency and accountability in this country. As I mentioned earlier, we have no need to privatize certain services. Government needs to continue to collect revenue in this country. What we need to go forward doing is having everything accounted for in terms of how we spend public funds. Because whether I'm elected or anyone at this table is elected, at the end of the day, It is us as the Cayman Islands citizens. It is our money, and we should be able to see exactly how it is getting spent in this country. So that is what I support personally, is an entire audit of government in its current state.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Mr. Anglin?
Thank you very much for the question. The fact of the matter is the Cayman Islands government produces annual audited financial statements. So looking and seeing where government is spending money, while it's critically important, what is more important is how government is going to cut costs. We can review all we want, but if you don't have the will to actually cut costs, and you do it, in my mind, through two things. Firstly, we have to use technology within government to deliver more services and free up public servants. One of the key problems we have in the Cayman Islands civil service is you have very redundant and old-fashioned ways of delivering services to the public. And a lot of them involve human beings. At the same time, you have critical areas screaming, saying, we need more people, we need more people. And every year, the elected government gets pressure to increase the civil service to the point that we're at around 5,000 civil servants. Let me give some very, very simple examples. Why is it that we have to go to a counter and have humans interface with us to issue something as simple as a driver's license when other countries are using technology to deliver those services to the public? That frees up the staff who are there, who can be redeployed in areas that are screaming out and do actually need additional human beings to carry out the mandate of delivering a world-class civil service to the Cayman Islands. As it relates to privatization, we would have to be, that's a very vague question, and I would have to know exactly what you're looking at. But for the most part, I can say that my position and my policy position has always been that the government ought to be concentrating on the areas that are critically needed: policing, a world-class public education system, ensuring we have access to world-class health care. And once we do that, we can then assess whether or not there are certain areas within government where there might be an opportunity to privatize.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin.
Okay, so we've come to the end of the session. This is question 12, and I'm going to start with you, Ms. Bush. Given concerns about stagnation in the financial services sector, what strategies would you propose to reduce costs and encourage innovation?
Well, in the financial service sector, we know that we are seeing that stagnation. Once again, I can always reiterate the fact that we can start to build incentives for young people to get into that area, or just persons that are interested in doing it. However, to diversify it a bit or encourage innovation, I think we need to look at possibly going into education tourism is something that I thought about. With education tourism, I'm well aware that we have educational institutions here in the Cayman Islands where you have UCCI, ICCI, and UWI Open Campus. However, if we look at bringing in a large, say, Ivy League university to the islands, say like Cayman Brac, I think having the opportunity for our children to still leave home for the most part, a small travel, some independence. We provide a wide range of degree paths. We look at possibly having a local rate for our students. We look at the ability to have housing for our students there. And it wouldn't necessarily put a lot on infrastructure because of the close proximity to a lot of things in the Brac, but it does diversify it a bit. We want to ensure that our financial sector is solid. We need to ensure that we're pushing money that direction or making sure that there's needs met in the financial sector. But innovation and encouraging it, I think we just need to bring young ideas to the table to possibly look at what that means, whether it's education tourism, whether it's entertainment industry. We can definitely diversify and encourage growth in that area for us and the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. Mr. Rivers?
Thank you for the question. Firstly, I think we have an extremely strong financial service sector in the country. It's leading globally and competes globally at that too. What I will be the first to tell anybody is that I'm not an expert in this field, but what I am happy for is that the Cayman Islands National Party has a plethora of members in it that are actual experts in this field. So I'd be looking to work with them to get answers like this sorted. So when it comes to cutting costs and how we encourage innovation, I can simply say we have a lot of emerging fields in the financial services sector, like cryptocurrency. So I think we need to look more heavily into that. That can become a nice deposit or a bank for the country. What I will also say is that whether it comes to reducing costs or incentivizations of Caymanians in these fields, the same way like how we have Caymanians that are working in tourism that look at it and say that why would I enter into this? Tourism on a financial perspective does not compete well anymore in this country. The cost of living has gotten too high. So if we want to see more Caymanians in key industries in this country, we have to start to subsidize them, because it's a proven fact that once you subsidize something, you always get more of it. So if you want more Caymanians in it, you have to incentivize them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Mr. Anglin?
Thank you very much for the question. I note the competing interest between this question and an earlier question when we talked about outsourcing. And so how is it in a global stage that a small island like ours with a vibrant sector are going to be able to ensure that we reduce cost whilst encouraging innovation, but at the same time trying to avoid specific companies or parts of their businesses from being outsourced? For me, it is about ensuring that what we do extremely well. Secondly, ensuring that government continues to work very closely with the private sector to produce highly skilled, competent Caymanians who are going to be able to take advantage of the industry and be world-class employees and managers and partners within a broad range of companies within the financial services sector. As it relates to actually reducing costs, I can say that the industry is going to point to things like work permits. I would just point to and say, well, you can reduce the cost of work permits, hire more Caymanians. That reduces costs right away. We have to ensure that we continue to invest in our young people. We continue to invest in our scholarship programs so that Caymanians can continue to take up their rightful place in this society, so that all industries, including the financial services industry, are employing Caymanians and not having to pay $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for a work permit. That increases costs right there. Secondly, when we look at the cost to do business in Cayman, we need to ensure that we're not only working closely with the private sector to try and bring those costs down, but we're looking holistically along with companies like CUC, etc., to try and use new and innovative technologies so that they can reduce their cost of operations, and that in effect will then lower not only the cost of living, but also the cost of actually doing business in a very, very expensive jurisdiction.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin. Mr. Ebanks Hurlston?
Thank you for the question, Samari. I think we can all agree that the major costs of doing any business in the Cayman Islands is in relation to licenses, especially in the financial sector. It comes to registration of companies, maintaining your business license, and also having a facility to house your staff. I think promoting work from home would be essential because it worked during the pandemic. It can surely work going forward, which then limits the cost to the business owners. Encouraging innovation. Again, we spoke about the outsourcing. I agree that we need to also ensure that our children are well equipped to handle these roles. So definitely putting a lot more emphasis on education and promoting our children, or elevating them to the point where they can fill these roles, is critical for us to actually bolster the financial sector. The other thing is that we need to do is look for ways to focus on other markets like cryptocurrency. That is a big market that I myself am also familiar with. We need to be mindful of the fact that that's the direction that we're going in. We need to embrace the future. I'm not saying that we have to take it on 100%, because with cryptocurrency, it does pose some threat. And again, allows certain entities to have full control of your investments and your finances. So I would still like to give people the option of still using paper money to do transaction and not just be heavily dependent on cryptocurrency. For sure, we definitely know that, again, goes back to what it costs relates to. We have to come up with better solutions and setting stronger policies that avoid people from, price gouging and increasing rental for people that is not justified. So keeping the cost down in that aspect would be beneficial for the company.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks. Ralston?
Well, candidates, thank you very much. That concludes the round of 12 questions. We're going to take a short commercial break. And when we return, the closing statements for each of our candidates. Please stay tuned.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Why is my bill higher? These days, it might seem like the cost of everything is going up here in Cayman. When it comes to your energy bill, this may be no exception. You may be wondering why your bill is higher when you haven't done anything different in your home. Here are some common factors that will increase your energy usage. As temperatures outside increase, your air conditioning unit has to run longer to keep your house cool, even if you haven't adjusted the thermostat. During the summer months, cooling your home can make up more than half of your energy bill. It's important to maintain your AC so that it can function as efficiently as possible. Changing your AC filters can also help with ensuring units are functioning properly. Remember, for every degree you turn up your thermostat, you can save on your monthly energy cost. Turn off your AC when no one is home. Thermostat should not be set any lower than 78 degrees. Also consider closing blinds and drapes on the sunny side of your home. This will help reduce the temperature inside your home. Remember to consider energy waste. Think about the items in your home that are using energy, like gaming computers and ceiling fans. Always unplug and turn these items off when they are not in use or needed. This will help you conserve. Now that you have some energy saving tips, you can track your consumption daily on MyCUC. Learn more at www.cuc-cayman.com.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for West Bay North. We've gone through 12 questions this evening. It's now time for closing statements by each of the candidates, and we'll begin with Mr. Jordan Rivers.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of West Bay North and the broader Cayman Islands, what you will hear during this election and have been hearing in this election is that this is a process of experience versus experiments. Let me just remind you all what experience in this country over the past 25 years has gotten us. A failed NRA deal that has taken away our West Bay Road. We have seen Barkers go to the hands of a developer not once, but now in the clutches a second time. So bad so that we not only entered into the framework for fiscal responsibility due to government negligence in this country, but also we had to have the Foreign Commonwealth Office come down here and instruct PwC to audit our government not once, not twice, but 3 times to find value for money in this country. This is what experience has brought us over 25 years. Failure after failure after failure. We can no longer expect the persons that have been leading this country in the old archaic fashion to lead us into the new Mecca that is supposed to be Cayman. We need fresh, diverse, dynamic leadership. The Cayman Islands National Party brings that fresh and diverse and dynamic leadership. As I mentioned earlier, we have seen what the chaos of an entirely independent government has costed us over the past 4 years. The horse trading will continue on May 1st if we elect that style of government. The Cayman Islands National Party stands ready with an experienced team of industry leaders that are some of Cayman Islands' biggest success stories, like our leader Dan Scott, like Gary Ruddy. We are ready for you, Cayman. We have been working hard for you, Cayman. We have never left you, Cayman. And come May 1st, when we are elected your new Cayman Islands government, we will show you what true representation, true accountability, true transparency, true character looks like in this country. Thank you. Good night.
Mr. Ralston Anglin.
Firstly, let me thank you, Will, and the Chamber of Commerce for putting on this forum. Let me thank the fellow candidates for the District of West Bay North for appearing on the forum. Experience matters. Experience over experiments. A cliche? No, it's a reality. The fact of the matter is the people of West Bay North are going to have to make a decision come April 30th. And they're going to have to decide whether or not they're going to elect an individual that, if that person has to be sent to Washington, to London, to Brussels to represent the Cayman Islands, who will you send? You also have to decide who are you going to entrust to ensure that local government is pushed to the point that your member of parliament is going to be willing to genuinely enter a leadership and power sharing arrangement with their own district through an advisory district council, which will provide a framework and an opportunity for all Caymanians, if done throughout the country, to participate in our own democracy. The fact of the matter is we have a crisis in immigration. We have a crisis in education. We have a crisis in housing. We have a crisis in cost of living. You have to elect people who are going to not just play lip service and say that they're going to be a tag along with a party, but can actually be a key part of leadership to guide the good ship Cayman. I can say that in my journey, having been an elected member, but now having been for over a decade on the outside looking in, it has given me a fresh perspective, a new lens, as it were, to look through. And so that's why my campaign has not been innovative and invigorating. It has caused there to be a real groundswell. So much so that I want to thank the public for their support. And we had people from East End all the way through coming to my opening rally of people saying, we've heard the message, we've read the manifesto, we've seen that you're embracing technology and you've given us a QR code to be able to give you feedback. And I have listened to that feedback, and I already have 10 addendum points to my manifesto because the country wants a new vision, a new way forward, and I look forward to being your representative come April 30th, West Bay North.
Thank you. Mr. Jermaine Ebanks Hurlston.
Thank you all. First off, I want to express my deepest gratitude to the Chamber for hosting these debates and providing people in the Cayman Islands with the opportunity to hear directly from the candidates. To my fellow Caymanians, if integrity, transparency, and honesty and unwavering principles could be personified, they would be represented by me. I stand before you today, not just as a candidate, but as someone deeply committed to restoring trust in our leadership and reshaping our future. My manifesto is a reflection of what I envision for this country, and it is rooted in real, achievable solutions. Unlike the empty promises of the past, I will not be the politician who fades into the background after Election Day. We are at a crossroads, and it is time we ask ourselves, how did we get here? The answer is clear. Politicians more interested in self-interest and serving their own circles rather than people who employed them to do the job. I don't want to be a career politician. I want to be a servant leader, elected to get the job done and to pass the baton to the next generation of leaders who will carry on the country forward. I have a proven and clean track record of integrity and stability, all backed by my passion to ensure that our people and the Cayman people finally have a true seat at the table. Enough of the empty promises, enough of the gaslighting every 4 years. While experience is valuable, it's how that experience is used that truly matters. Let's be honest, the current paths that have been paved by some are deeply questionable. My opponent has resorted to mudslinging, and undermining the efforts and competence of young people like myself, questioning my integrity and professional experience. Let me be clear, I never claimed to be an engineer by degree, but I was an engineer by title, gaining invaluable experience from mentors who believed in me and advancing through my career over the years. This is the foundation of my leadership. The people I've met during my canvassing are clear in their desire for change. They want promises that are delivered. They want results. And with my leadership, that will progress. From the outset of this campaign, I have been open about who I'm working with and who support me financially, as I have nothing to hide, and I will never operate behind closed doors as we've seen in the past. Contrast with the reality of special interest funding and unfinished business. One particular candidate here tonight had 3 terms to get things done and has failed. Let's not repeat this same cycle. It is time for us to make a change. Vote number 3 for West Bay North. Jermaine Ebanks, your next candidate.
Ms. Shakina Bush.
I'd like to start by saying thank you to the Chamber for this opportunity, and thank you to the people of Cayman for listening in. West Bay North and Cayman, we need leaders in this country that are going to understand leading with compassion. Our people are hurting. I go back to what I said in my opening. We're at a pivotal point in this country where we need change that actually looks at what is best for people, what is best for our people, not what is just popular. We have to ensure that Caymanians are put first in Cayman in all that we do. I'm extremely proud to be sitting here because I dreamt of the day where we had so many young people wanting to get involved in change in our country. And I see it across this table today. And to know that we have our own specialty areas and we're here sitting to advocate for it, to advocate for our people. I ask you to open your eyes and understand the wave of change, the wave of directionality that we're starting to look at for who is stepping up and why we're stepping up. You see young ideas, young blood, young transparency that we are screaming for. We want transparency, we want accountability. And we ask our people to hold us to that in all that we do. Vote for who you feel will not sell you out. Vote for people that you understand and know their presence, not just showing up last minute, not just showing up because it's a paycheck, but showing up because you, the people, mean something to them. It is about community. It is about building together. It is about fighting together. And it is about us stop burning bridges and starting to build them back so that we can ensure that we have a passageway forward that takes care of Caymanians in our own country. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that on April 30th, you evaluate people that have been there fighting the fight in the trenches with you and understanding what that fight looks like is where you decide to place your X. And I hope that is with me after the years of dedication that I've given to you. Thank you all and have a wonderful and blessed night.
Well, thank you, candidates. Again, thank you all for participating. And now I'm going to turn it over to Omari Corbin, the President of the Chamber, for some closing remarks.
Thanks, Will. On behalf of the Chamber Council and staff, I'd like to thank Mr. Ralston Anglin, Ms. Shakina Bush, Mr. Jermaine Ebanks Hurlston, and Mr. Jordan Rivers for participating in this evening's forum. I trust that this forum will help West Bay North voters make informed decisions about who to vote for when they go to the polls on April 30th. I would also like to thank Ashley Furniture and Home Store, CUC, Foster's, and Logic for sponsoring the Chamber's candidate forums. Please join us Monday evening as we welcome the 2 candidates from West Bay West, Makiva Bush and Julie Hunter. Please note that all forums will be posted on the Chamber's YouTube channel for your future reference. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you'll join us on Monday evening. Do have an enjoyable weekend.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.